that they get him signed pretty quick.
Getting close.
30 seconds.
We're going out to watch Hayden, Father's Day weekend,
In St. Louis?
LA.
Oh, cool.
Right, so I think we'll
That's
Father's
still
Day.
2 weeks away, right? 14th?
Jim, did you bring donuts for everybody?
No, but I brought a leftover Dunkin' Donuts cup.
He brought coffee that he's gonna spill all over. He's got a lot of
It's
coffee
gotta
in
go.
my car.
It's gonna go this way.
Donuts for everybody.
Ready? Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Butler.
Here.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Phipps.
Here.
Mayor Hall.
Here. Presentations, petitions, and communications. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for persons who desire to address the council. The Illinois Open Meetings Act mandates that the city council may not take action on comments received on matters that have not been identified on this agenda. But the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the matter for action on the agenda for another meeting. Persons addressing the council are requested to limit their presentations to 3 minutes and to avoid repetitious comments. We would also ask you state your name and address for the record, as well as stand when speaking. Would anybody like to address the council? Anybody online?
Nobody's online.
Nobody's online. Okay. We're going to start right up with new business, and I think Mr. Clausen's going to start.
Motion to adopt special ordinance number 2025-1962, approving a memorandum of understanding MOU between the city of Mattoon and the IAFF, providing for a 35-mile residency clause and authorizing the mayor to sign the MOU.
Can I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Mr. Phipps? And any comments?
Now, this is very similar to what we did with the police union, allowing that through the end of this contract, which expires April 30th of 26.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Butler.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
Motion to adopt special ordinance number 2025-1963, granting a special use for a tier 1 short-term rental located at 1112 Unique Court. Petitioner Brenda Wofford, 07-2-15691-000.
And a second to that motion.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Commissioner Phipps, and anything on this one?
Again, I think we talked about it at the last meeting a little bit. It did go before the planning commission. There was neighbors there that had concerns or complaints. The planning commission did not recommend it. But she still has the right to bring it into the council. She showed us pictures at the last council meeting. And I think it's a good looking place, and she lives there during the week, so,
Okay, she is present.
and she is present. Yeah.
Any questions?
I think the important part too is this is tier 1, which is pretty ideal, which is what a lot of the purpose behind the ordinance was, is to have an owner occupied short-term rental. And that's what the petitioner fits. I mean, it just fits the nice mold, in my opinion.
And I drove by the area, the houses are well maintained, spread out. I don't think parking would be an issue. I think the petitioner would understand the requirements and, having good renters and not having police calls. So
All right. Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Clausen.
yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Butler.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. Okay,
Actually,
So it passed.
excuse me?
I was telling her it passed.
Okay. Primary purpose of the meeting this morning is to establish some objectives for the next 6 months for Kyle Gill, our new city manager. And we've never really went through this process before. I'm going to try to guide us through this a little bit. I know everybody is, I think, got some objectives, and we're going to go through those. I did ask Kyle, as we get down to narrowing down the objectives, and everybody's going to get a chance to list whatever they want, but we're going to probably put some up on our screen. Kyle will do that. And my experience in doing this and setting these kinds of objectives is that a couple of key things, they have to be measurable and time bounded. And of course, Kyle has input on all these. We have to have an agreement between the council and Kyle as to what those are. We really are talking primarily about 6 months. I know we talked about that in our understanding of what we wanted Kyle to do for this first 6 months. I think we can be a little bit flexible with that 6 months, as long as it's at least 6 months, and try to get most of these done by the end of the year. I think that's my opinion. And this is wide open. Everybody can do whatever they want as far as sort of how we go through this first process. But I think everybody is going to have a list of objectives. And if we can just kind of go around the table and start listing some of these, and so we can kind of get them all up in front of you. I don't know. I thought taking some notes as to what everybody has is probably important to start with, but we do need to narrow it down to, 3 or 4 or 5 probably at the most. We've already got a lot of things going on this year. Kyle's probably even started on some of the ones we're going to come up with, to be honest with you. But we'll just start anywhere. We can start with Dave, if you'd like to say what your first one is.
Well, I guess just to clarify some of the kind of the guide rails today.
Uh-huh.
Are we sticking with, do we need to stick with like certain areas like strategic leadership or strategic plan, administrative efficiency, operational efficiency is a whole other parameter.
Right.
We need to kind of stick with one area or 2 areas that we're trying to go down, because there's a lot of strings you could pull on this.
Right.
This whole topic.
It's
Communication, website.
right.
You know,
They have to be definable, just to say we're going to improve communications, or we're going to make citizens better off, or
Right.
that it's got to be something we can define
Right.
and measure. And it could hit any of those categories. I don't think we're limiting ourselves here. Yeah, so I don't know if that helps you any, but
Yeah,
tell
I
us
think-
tell us what your ideas are.
well, a few of the things that I came up with, and they're somewhat detailed, is we need to revamp our website, and that can't be done in 6 months, but we need to be a lot more proactive and user friendly as far as the community goes. And then what's a big start is the app that you can submit nuisances. But
Yes.
the more I talk to people, business owners, startups, the process is somewhat antiquated
Right.
when it comes to permitting, and they've done work. It's a 9-day difference from this year to last year, but even more so if we can get some stuff automated.
Okay.
That would be good.
Go ahead.
Again,
What I would like to do is have everybody go around and do one. So if you do one, then go to somebody else and do one.
Sure.
You may end up having the same one everybody's got.
right.
But I do think that, I don't know how many people had that one on their list. It was on mine. Jim, I don't know if it was on yours, but I do think that is an important one. Let's go all the way over to Erica, if we can.
So my one that I have is research and identify 2 new revenue streams, identify how they would improve or impact the city, identify any barriers and present a timeline for implementation, present to council at 6-month evaluation. This should not include the cannabis dispensary already in progress.
Okay, so revenue streams is focused there, whatever those might be. We may find out, by the way, some of these that we hit on, we may not have it budgeted. It may require outside help. And if we do, we can of course go in and change our budget if we need to.
Well, and I think mine's not necessarily like, let's get more, like, how can we get more money? Just research and identify 2 new areas where we can bring more money into the city.
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily even like implement, what would the barriers be to that? And how would this impact the city if we did bring them here?
Okay.
Just more of an identification versus implementation.
Okay. Jim?
One of my two, Mayor, is, we talked about this last night at the Public Works Advisory Committee, but we are probably looking at some major costs with water treatment, including major repairs at the Lake Paradise Dam, a new lime system for treatment, just kind of in the next 6 months, start tracking those costs, and then how that will factor in. Just recently, we had a 4.5% increase, but kind of get a feel and work towards those numbers of total costs through Dave Clark, and then how that projects, because that eventually, of course, goes to the users.
Right.
So-
So this is not necessarily to complete those projects, but to figure out what those are, what they might cost. It's really the design.
It's a tracking, yes. It's a, to me, one of the major infrastructure needs that we have.
Okay. Okay, one of the ones that I had was actually, the first one that I had was redo our city of Mattoon comprehensive plan. It is 12 years old or whatever, somewhere around that area, and include a mission and vision statement in that comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan, I don't, Eric, have you seen a copy of it? Okay.
No, I have not.
Okay. So
Each one.
now that one does require some money, but you actually put money in? or-
Yes, we put some money in this year's budget to work with Coles County Regional Planning. And
Mhm.
instead of going out and hiring a consultant like we did last time, the consultants did a very good job of selling their services, so to speak. Did a good job of coming in and looking at everything, flashy pictures of downtown, different areas. But when we actually end up getting the comprehensive plan, we felt like it was a really cookie cutter. You could throw any city's name in it and
And
it would work.
Yeah.
There was a few things, of course, like bike trails and stuff like that, that was specifically to Mattoon. But I mean, again, changing the name of the trail, changing the name of the city, and we didn't think it was detailed enough to be really getting to Mattoon.
One thing about the comprehensive plan, it's my last comment on that one, is that we spent a lot of money in doing that before, and it was useful, but we hardly ever touched it. We hardly ever went back and said, are we doing these things we said we wanted to do in the next 10 or 15 years? And one of the things that we want to make sure that we do is have a plan that we can begin to start watching and measuring what we're doing. And even, Erica, to your plan, identifying new revenue streams ought to be in that comprehensive plan. What should we be doing? What should we be doing? So that's my first one. Let's keep going.
It's, the comprehensive plan it should be just a living document, really, a very, very vibrant directive.
Right.
And to me, Kyle can lead it, but it's all of us. It's collectively, and it's also the city too. So I
Right.
think it's important to do.
Right.
I think that's a good topic, but,
Okay. So what else you got? Let's keep going, Dave.
oh gosh, communication, that would be another one. I'd like to see some type of a rubric on communication plan to the public, to the staff. Just to continue that open lines of communication. I think when I first got on, there were some issues with responsiveness to the public. And I'm not just saying it's that position, but
Right.
kind of systemic, kind of citywide. So I kind of want to see it, kind of a rubric developed within the next 6 months to say, okay, how are we going to communicate? Again, a big chunk of that is the Public Works app.
Right. No.
But there's also other stuff.
Well, your first website, even, we don't do a very good job, and it's not very user friendly.
Yeah.
And that could be part of
Right.
that communication.
Exactly.
Okay.
Develop and present a solidified 6 and 12-month plan for the mini golf area at Peterson Park. Present this plan with all the parties involved with planned implementation prior to the next leasing period.
Okay. That's been an item.
I know,
That's been an item. And we haven't been very successful at it.
but let's be done with it.
But we could get it at, definitely, we're not going to get it done unless we make
No
it.
one's fault on this council, by the way. The
Yeah.
contract for that is,
I thought it was your fault.
it's not.
That's the notes I have.
I thought you tied this
I'll
up.
take the heat for it. if you want, but,
No, but no, It's had a lot of discussion around that.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's
Mhm.
a good one. Jim?
Another one I had, Mayor, is, it came up last night, the electrical aggregation that our residents can participate in. Apparently, and I'm not seeing the bill on it, but it's gone up 3 cents, which was a state add-on. So that kilowatt price is now 11, I think 11 and 3/4 cents. So I think we're looking at negotiating that down with other cities. Because that one does, it's kind of like the water rate increase that affects our citizens. So see if we can get that at a lower rate and continue to track that. And I think it has to be done by what, October?
Our contract's good. Our contract's good until the end of December. What we don't know is what Ameren's rate is going to be come October.
Mhm.
We've heard their June rate is going to go up to 12.5 cents a kilowatt, which we will be saving money from June till October. We don't know what Ameren's going to do in October. If they are lower in October, we have two choices. We could opt out for everybody in the community, but then we have to stay with Ameren for a complete year. Or we can wait till December and see what kind of rate we get. Individuals can opt out at any time from home field if Ameren's rate is cheaper. So even if we didn't opt out for everyone, people would be able to opt out. But again, they're going to be stuck with Ameren for a year and would not be able to be in our next cycle of negotiations and what will happen in December.
Jim, on this item, are you suggesting, we can't really control the rates, but we could help get the best rates?
Well, I think get the best rates and figure out a way, whether it's, as Dave said, maybe through the website, some type of, figure out a way to do something to notify the public of what's going on. A lot of people don't understand it. And whatever that rate is, get that information to them so they can understand and then make the right decision that they have to make, whether staying in or opting out.
That could tie in even to the website.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of information we're providing to the public.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, but yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, because you just kind of get it in the mail and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Right, right. The other, see, I had the website as one, but now the other one that actually the third one that I had, that we need to have quarterly budget reports, including in those budget reports where we compare actual results quarterly to budgeted results quarterly, and not just expenses and revenues, but capital items. We would like to know, again, not just the income statement items, but the ones where we spend money. What did we plan to do? What did we do? What were the costs? What did we budget? All on cap. And that's primarily, that's one going to come up through Dave, but we don't really have a feel for that, I don't think. And in fact, as everybody knows, we don't really budget monthly. I mean, we just take averages or divide by 12 or, we don't really, we know we get money coming in at certain times and you spend money at certain times, but we don't really reflect and look at that. But doing that quarterly ought to be something that we would know if we say for the first quarter, let's say once it's over, this is what we budgeted for the first quarter. This is what our actual revenues and expenses are and capital expenditures and any major variances we explain to everybody. Again, I think quarterly is plenty enough to do that because monthly, you can be, the timing of money coming in and going out may vary every month.
Yes.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So doing it quarterly, I think it ought to be something that we could, and the presentations, unfortunately, we're stuck with a chart of accounts with the municipal government, but we can still make it, I think, easier to understand than what we've done before. Yeah, so that would be,
Correct me if I'm wrong, we don't do accrual accounting either during the year.
no,
The auditors.
we're sort of,
do
yeah,
this
right. Yeah,
anyway, so,
so we're pretty much on a cash basis.
yeah. So the timing of those does skew the monthly. I have a different idea.
Yeah. So anyway, that would be one for me. Okay. Now,
Mayor, on a side note, the EPA firm, this is their third and final year, correct? the wrapping up of doing our audit, so we're gonna have to
Yeah.
start looking at either extending or how you're gonna do that.
Right. Yeah, that's something, we've always dealt with locally with firms on the public accounting side. But I do know that many of those firms don't want to do the work and don't have the horsepower to do it. That's why we went outside. I don't know that we need to change every 3 years, but we ought to be reviewing periodically to see who's out there and who's doing that work. So yeah, good point though. Okay, go back to Dave then.
Well, I had the miniature golf on my list. I had the comprehensive plan on my list.
Okay.
The only one that was more internally, but I'd like to see a formal employee appraisal and review system to begin to be developed. At least the framework of it going forward for, I guess that would be non-union
Yeah,
staff.
it would be a performance review,
Right.
basically.
The performance review
Yeah.
structure,
Yeah. Okay.
system-wide.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Is that all levels of management, or are we going to start with department heads and get their reviews? Because it can be overwhelming
Yeah.
to try to do every non-union position.
Right. Well, my familiarity with it is that the city manager would do his directs and then his directs would do theirs, but it would all be based on the same architectural structure of it.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
get
Okay.
similar questions, similar rubric, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goals are different
Yes.
position to position,
Right.
but at least
Standardized questions. Look up.
format should be
Yeah.
somewhat similar.
Okay.
So Kyle, this is like not personal, but kind of personal because you got to do it right.
Right.
Performance eval with documentation of change or improvement, assertiveness, decision-making, give 5 proven examples to present it at 6 or 12-month evaluation. I feel like 6 month is a little bit soon. But because we were doing 6 month, that's kind of what I put. But I feel like whenever we do the 12-month evaluation, just because it was kind of brought up, I thought we should put something as like kind of a personal goal as far as for the position versus just for the city. But
So what was that again?
Like,
The
on our
performance.
evaluation, like you can give us like 5 examples of like the decision making and assertiveness. And the reason why is because I feel like we went from whenever we did change the government, now it's all kind of in your hands. And I want to be able to say, this is how it's working. This is how it's doing better. But I also feel like it's going to be to benefit you. To be like, right here, it's in paper. I've got it.
Okay.
Because I feel like whenever we're doing performance evals to yours, you have to have personal goals as well as professional goals that we're meeting.
Okay. Jim?
Third one I have, we have 3 collective bargaining agreements that expire. This is more past 6 months, but they expire April 30. Just kind of, and Kyle's done a good job in the past, but get ahead of that and maybe get those where we get them approved. We hold down some outside costs with paying additional attorney fees on something like that. So that would be a third one. And also, as Kyle types these notes, Mayor, I would like to see the 4 or 5, whatever goals we come up with, who can you delegate to? Who can help you to assist Coles County Regional Planning for comprehensive plan, or Dave Clark on water treatment? But also, if you would include your resources so that people, Dave's website, which I know you started, but have other resources internally so you can do the many functions of the city manager position.
Can I say something on that
Sure.
note? On that note, you sent out a spreadsheet of all the projects, which
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
awesome. to your note, maybe even add a few columns that says who's in charge of this
Yeah,
and the timeline on when they're to get back to the decision maker.
yes.
And if your name's on all of them, that's an issue.
No,
Yeah.
my name.
I think that's where we're.
You're going to need a friend.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, in many cases, by the way, you're talking about affecting the budget. What you're talking about is going back in and revising the budget and figuring out what we can and can't spend, and whether it be outside consultants or hiring more people or whatever. So, yeah.
I'm gonna kind of make that a new one.
Internal projects, like where is who's the go-to person for this if I wanted to have a discussion about it, maybe?
Okay.
With that being said, Erica's first objective, the revenue streams, how do we track what's going on at the national level that could affect grants as they don't filter down to the local level? What's our resource there? Is
Again, I mean,
Mary
it's-
Miller, is
well, we do talk to them as that they'll send us stuff as they know. But I mean, a lot of it is, you know, the news. We get bombarded with emails. I bet
Trash
I
call.
get 100 emails a day.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you'll get some that are from IML, but then you also just get some from different lawyers and training. They're trying to, you know, sell their training. So, you know, if I get 100 emails a day, there's probably about 40 to 50 of them that I consider legitimate to look at. But there is still a lot of emails that come out, and they're all over the board on different things. So,
I only came with 3 and we've hit all of those. That mine, of course, was the comprehensive plan, the website, and there's some things tied to that. And also the quarterly reporting. I did not have any more. So I don't have any more to add. So now, altogether, we really eliminated most of the duplication, but now we got to figure out, again, we only have 6 months here. We can't have 10 objectives. And in fact, I would recommend that we try to get 3 important objectives or 4 at the most, yes.
Dave was I think he said he was going to send.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry about, he did, by the way. I should have handed that out first. Here, pass this, over to Dave. And you want it for you too.
Okay.
Dave did give me, I need one of those back. Dave did send to me, he had an emergency come up. And so he couldn't be here this morning, but he did list 4 ideas. And in fact, the first one on the list is quarterly updates on budgets. Develop a plan for hiring of what he called was a communication director. And I think it ties into some things. You guys can look at that in more detail. The firehouse number 3, which is a construction project. It is something that we can put on there for sure. Comprehensive plans on his. So those are the 4 that he had. We've really covered all of those except for probably the communication director.
and the fire station 3. Yeah.
I think on the communication side, if you we can develop, or if you can develop that metric or rubric for that might identify the need for a communications director.
Yeah.
Or some type of hybrid position that he was talking about too.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to let you know, I've already been talking with our grant writer. As time gets moving on and grants start slowing down, I've already talked to her about communications and helping with website and that type of thing, and Facebook and all that. And that was something she was
Good.
interested in as well. So,
I was going to ask if we could find that person internally
yeah,
and adjust salary accordingly for the extra duties.
I was always trying to get Brian Johan Peter to do more of that.
Yeah.
That was where he went to school for, not computer IT. But we were never able to get a different IT guy to take his IT position and him move over into that. So,
I just wanted to say, I feel like whenever we are looking at these goals and we're talking in 6 months, I think that we should keep these on maybe for a 12-month, but pick our top 3, maybe 4 at the most, that would have that Kyle can have the most impact on. And we can see results of an evaluation of in our 6-month period. And I think that if we separate them out, like this can't be done, maybe our list would come down significantly.
No, that's right. There's no point in putting on an objective that takes 12 months to do, and you ask them to do it in 6 months.
Right.
Can't work out. Although there are, and I'm going to use one as an example, the comprehensive plan can be started to the point where you don't have a published document yet, but you have certain meetings that go on. You've hired someone to help. The process starts, and you get to a certain point in 6 months.
Yeah, yes.
And you could say, okay, we want to start the comprehensive plan. If everybody agrees it's something we should do, even long term. But if we get to a certain point, and that's the time bounded part of it. I think we can probably do that and identify
Yeah.
what those steps are.
Like, I think the website is super important, but whenever you're talking, website revamping is not fast. And I feel like it's always, and I just know this from my own business, it's never finished because it's always changing. So I feel like maybe if we're talking about the website and we're updating it, like if we were to add it, maybe just who's going to be responsible for putting out the information?
Right.
Who's going to be responsible for updating it? Who's going to be responsible for, making sure that all of the information is there and that it's staying up to date with
Right.
the current times, so to speak. Because I do think it's important, and I think that that's where people originally go, but I also don't think that it will never be completely finished, I guess is my point.
Well,
I think it's important, but it will,
I think,
just like the comprehensive plan, it's live.
right.
So maybe just even identify whose job it will be.
The design of the comprehensive plan, or not the comprehensive plan, the design of the website is something that can be done. And I've certainly done that with outside contractors before. They come in, design a website, looks great, got all the features and functions we need, but then no one's responsible for
Right.
providing the data that's on it.
Right, right,
And then it's a failure.
exactly.
But
Because it's never ending.
yeah, well, the data always,
Changing.
but that doesn't necessarily change the design of it.
I think it's important to get the stakeholders involved in that process.
Like, I think
And
we've
it's-
already kind of started that.
Yes, we have. And so right now we're in the process of getting all the department heads to look at their website and see their web pages and see what information's up to date, not up to date, what they want to add, what they want to take off. We do have a lot of information on our website, which makes it clunkier for the average person to maneuver through.
When I say stakeholders, I'm talking about the public.
The public,
Yeah.
right?
Get a group together, almost like an advisory board of
Community members.
community users, a contractor,
Yeah, you could do
a
that.
real estate agent, a small business owner. Anyone that's uses or tries to use the web page and has gotten frustrated before, put them on that and get that. That to me would be a key driver.
What would we feel like is what would we feel like is our number one? Like that we would want to see in 6 months?
Well,
Like, I feel like the comprehensive plan it affects everything. So, maybe if we pick out one that's number one, we could start with.
yeah, well, we can't, I would,
involves everybody too, doesn't it? The comprehensive plan, that
Yes.
involves the council as well.
Yes.
it does. And in fact, it involves the public. I mean,
Right.
it does a lot of those. What I would hope to do is get the list of the ones that we want to keep on the list. And I don't know how many we're going to have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe eight items now or so, maybe 9. But let's see what those 9 are, and then everybody rank the top 3 in order. So you pick your top 3 and you say, here's the ones that I think we need to work on. We may find out we can only narrow it down to 4, but then we're going to actually, so what we do is we're going to score them. You're going to write them down on a piece of paper, and we're going to give them to Susan, and she's going to say, all right, this one's got the most points. And then I think we'll cut to the chase as far as what ones are critical to everybody without going through and discuss them all over again. So
I got,
go ahead.
I got what, or a request, I guess. Kyle, we haven't heard from Kyle.
Okay, good point.
His-
Good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
So again, I think everything that you've listed is stuff that I think the city and the staff want to do. I don't think there's anything there that is not been talked about before. Again, like I said, there's a lot of it that all needs to be done. Comprehensive plan is going to take a little bit of time, and the ones that will take time because of consultants that we don't know, you know, Coles County Regional Planning does comprehensive plans not only for several villages and towns all over. So, you know, we're going to be, if we choose to go with them to save some money, it may take longer than what it would be if we went out and spent twice as much money and used a consultant. I think we'll get a better project using the county and city staff involved in I think the best part of the comprehensive plan is getting the community involved. And the last one that we had, the consultants, we had meetings, but we had 25, maybe 50 tops of public there. So, you know, being in-house, we can, if we only have 25 or 50 people, we can have more meetings as needed. Like I said, I think we're working on several of these. Again, some of it will be just me communicating with council what we want to do with the mini golf. I can talk to 3 different people and I get 3 different answers of what we want to do in the long term there. You know, from removing it completely to, which kind of what Park would like to do, just see it all wiped out and use it for other things. To, well, no, we want to keep mini golf.
Ultimately, though,
Redevelop.
isn't that your call to say, hey, here is what we need to do, period. Here's the best choice out of all 3.
So, I mean, I think I still would like input from people, what they'd like to see in the long run. I mean, just because I like to see kids have an option to do something doesn't mean that's the right thing to do for the park as well. You know, it is a business, let somebody else run the business, you know, but
Is it something that you feel like in 6 months that you could have a solidified answer on?
yes, of what we're going to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we could kick them off right now and, you know, there may be a little suit or something like that where we end up having to pay a little bit of money to get out of the contract. But I mean, that is an option. We can just say, all right, next year we're not renewing.
You can always breach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's not a problem coming up with the solution. I've been trying to figure out a unique way to maybe not have the courts get involved in a settlement type thing. Unfortunately, some things that come up we can't do, but you know, I keep on
Yeah.
looking for different.
Yeah, I
items.
feel like on that, I mean, my personal opinion is like, let's make a decision, let's roll with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just, let's get and do it. Whatever it is we're doing, let's just get it done.
Well, I hate to say this, but it opens this weekend and I drove by Sunday. It is a mess. It is a terrible look for our park. There's overgrowth. There is stuff internally that I thought was going to be done last year. It's not. You have a beautiful park, well used. It's a signature for Lightworks and Bagel Fest. And then this is there.
And you got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got the mess with the. Do you have anything you would add or anything that we think we missed?
No, I think that's good. I gave you that list of all the projects that were going on, and I wanted you to look at that, and I like the idea of who's doing what. And there's several of us doing it. I mean, there's a lot of the lifting of public works that Dave's doing, but there's sections of it that I help out with when it comes to easements and stuff like that as well.
But you have that
Working with C.
delegate.
Yes, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say, you know, 80% of it is Dave Clark and his crew. So yes, we do. We work all well with it. You know, Alex Benishik takes on different things for me as well. So I'm not bashful to ask them for help.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's something that like just can be a check mark.
Yep.
On the, you're talking about just the the miniature golf, is that or what?
The projects.
No, on the project.
Or the project?
Yeah, yeah.
I counted 10 things that we have on our list right now.
One,
Right.
two, three.
But like, I wonder if he just does that, that's, like, he just adds a column in his spreadsheet and that's checked off and that's gone, not even there.
Well, I want to figure out what we think, including Kyle,
Mhm.
is the top 3 or 4 we're going to go after. And because you can't do all 10 of them.
No,
It's just impossible for 6 months and get these things done. So I'd like to get it narrowed down to 3 or 4 and let him go after that. That doesn't mean there aren't other things going on. There already are some of these projects already
So
moving
then,
ahead.
are we gonna print that out so we have our number one, or are we all just gonna write them down?
I would want each one of you to list your top 3.
Okay,
And by the way, let's go through that list, see which ones we've got. I've got, one of them is the website. And then the next one I had was a communications to public, which is really kind of a combination, I think, of what Dave said, and also, well, both Daves, because Dave Cox did the same thing. We had new revenue, miniature golf. Jim was on a major water treatment plant projects and how we prioritize that and get information on that. Electrical aggregation was one. Comprehensive plan was another. Quarterly budgets, updates, performance reviews for everyone. And then we talked about, Erica talked about personal goals for Kyle. And I was a little bit confused, Jim Clausen, on yours. The last one that you mentioned was dealt with collective agreements and who to delegate, who.
Well, it was just expiration of the collective bargaining contracts and just,
Well, we know who's.
yeah, yeah.
So is that one?
I think you
want-
strike that one.
I added a separate one as who can assist and delegate on internal projects. I think it was more general. Add who
Because
was in charge of
I know
projects or
the previous contracts, when we were over public works and public properties, we were a little bit of that process on the meetings. But with the change of government, Dave and I and that, I mean, we'll be away from it. So,
Yeah, it'll be the department heads
Okay.
coming in.
yeah, that.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Eliminate that. So now I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 10. What I'd like for you to do is to take those 10 and rank your number 1 as 3, your number 2 is 2, your number 1 is 1. So when we total them up, the one that's got the most scored.
thank you.
So if we write it 3, it's 3
Yeah,
points.
so 3, yeah. So 3, the number 3 is your highest priority. Number 1 is your lowest priority.
Right.
And then we'll total those up and we'll see where we're at. Because that'll be interesting, I think, to, exactly what we think is the most important ones.
While I'm thinking about it, what are you typing that on?
Word.
Do they not have spell check?
It does, but you have to go into it.
I thought it automatically identifies as under a red line.
It's not when I got it capitalized.
All cap.
Oh,
When I have it capitalized, it doesn't do that.
okay.
Okay.
So,
Well, I know we talked about it before that the Outlook doesn't have that.
Outlook doesn't have it unless you click an add-on. Yeah,
Can Dalton add that system wide
I think so.
in the?
Yeah.
It underlines it
Okay,
Yeah.
in Outlook.
so is it okay if Susan sort of tallies this up for us?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you mine.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to do that? Okay, we're gonna just hand a sheet back to her, I guess.
You want our names on them?
I just thought it'd be
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, go ahead, put your name on it. See, 3.
Do you have any input from the audience? Staff?
There's mine. You all set, Dave, everybody? Pass me this way.
No, I'm not saying. I'm
No, I said, okay, that's all right.
Yes, mate, thank you.
That's all right.
We have a recess to
No, no, I just gave you my top 3 list.
Kyle, do you ever think about like
Uh,
My employees that make you like, don't know.
so yes, I do have goals that I don't do myself, but it seems like those would get pushed behind council's goals. So I mean,
Rude of us.
but no, I mean, when I was
Yeah.
like city administrator, when I first became city administrator, I'm like once a month I'm going to go walk downtown and talk to all the business owners.
Yeah.
And that, I mean,
That never happened.
never happened.
Yeah.
You just always run out of time,
Yeah.
you know. But I see them out in different things, like the bagel bites. I've been going out to those and talking to the people. and,
Right.
you know, Bernie's down there and some of the other business owners are down there. So
Do you get to talk when you're talking to Bernie?
not always.
On my basketball.
Yes. No. Short answers.
Yeah.
There's one more, right? Kyle, would you give us your top three?
Oh,
We're not going to total his in, but we're going to compare his top three to what we. So you just record those separately.
Like you're the firing squad currently.
I should think about cases and legal issues. You're into something, I can say.
Well,
Wheels turning.
Thinking about that golf country.
So, okay.
I'll fix that file, Jim. I like that.
Well, it's not. It's a
You're
wonderful.
supposed to put them,
The city has no,
is this 3, 2, 1?
we don't have an outplus. Just whoever drafts 3 points.
It's poorly,
Number 2 gets 2 points.
poorly written.
Number 3
Let's
gets
see all the options to renew and.
Right.
Number
This
1
is
gets 3.
your
Our
supporting thing.
options are
Yeah.
to breach and.
This is your second.
Consequences.
Yeah,
Trying to figure out what can fit into 6 months.
I
Right.
guess
Right.
That can be done as.
you're talking about the city and
So,
appearances of it, so.
But we'll get into that discussion, I think.
It's,
It comes to negotiation.
it does.
And I know Kyle had some interesting ideas, but that's right, you can't do what he wants to do.
So you understand what your job is?
Yeah.
You're good.
Off with your head. But that's what I say to my kids whenever they'd be arguing, off with your.
Off with your head. Except
You
Sterling
can use
probably totally spoiled.
Sterling gets whatever she wants. So does.
probably a separate sheet to total.
We pulled.
So you total up the number of points it's got.
We pulled her around like you were doing,
Points.
and it was a game. Bobby pulled her, I was behind it. I put her.
That's good. There's 3 points.
Bottom
Yeah,
on the ground,
correct.
put them back in, stuff down on the ground.
So that's 2 points. You get that. So you start totaling those up.
Drop it, pick it.
And then this one
Yeah,
got
that's Sterling
these
gets
no
what
points.
she
So you're going to have total points on that one.
wants. For a deal.
Every one that gets points is going to be listed. You don't even get that one. You understand?
Yep, I think so. So I'm just trying to find matches here.
Okay.
You add them up
8
fast.
months, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She follows Papa around everywhere. He didn't shut the gate.
Oh. She likes the dogs.
She loves dogs.
Yeah.
They go out to the animal shelter probably once a week.
then 5, which could be in 6 months, and which.
I think it would. Here's,
He's named Kennedy.
you want to get another one?
No.
Do they have one?
They just take her out there to play
Oh.
with all the animals. Cause she likes them.
We've adopted 3 and they're,
A lot easier than taking them home.
yeah. Or to grandma's.
They are not coming to Gigi's. Not allowed.
Kyle, does Alex have a list of all the, like a spreadsheet of all the nuisance properties he's addressed?
I know they got files hanging up in the thing. I'm sure he's got it in an Excel spreadsheet, but I haven't seen that, but
So when
I'm
we
sure.
Contact us and send us a picture.
Yeah.
He's got it on his system already. We can pull up and say, now we've already contacted these people 3 times.
So he'll have the buildings and the stuff like that. The police will have the actual grass and trash.
Yeah, I spoke with him last week about it. He's got some type of system that he follows up. Well, so you can ask him, has this been followed up on? And he would be able to tell you yes.
Yeah.
So is there a way we can have both systems communicate and you can have one database of the PD plus Alex's and all of that?
So
property?
we used to have that in Encode, but Encode was so hard to, it was expensive and it was hard to use.
Did we ditch that?
We did ditch that.
When did we do that?
uh, 2015-ish, somewhere in there.
Those are the only ones that got points, and there are no others that got any points.
That like both can, like.
Yeah, we have a P drive, P drive public file.
Is that?
Here, I'm there.
Okay, so that's all the ones.
We
that
have
got
access
points.
to that.
Okay, so we got, this is by far the top, and then these four here all.
We have a board, we have two drives.
How'd you get half here?
We gave it a half.
You think I'm?
It was outside of the round. So
We end up.
all the-
Excel spreadsheet.
So the quarterly goes.
Color coded.
So we actually have 1, 2, 3.
Going
We have
on.
4 that all got 3.
Everybody have.
Again, as people have changed, it all plan changes, everybody likes to do it a little
Okay,
bit.
what's this one?
The water treatment plant.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Want to hear the score?
The results are.
The comprehensive plan got 8 points. That's the only, it's the, by far the top one.
Good.
And then there are 4 of the goals all got 3 points. And those 4 are miniature golf,
The communications Rubik's.
the communications Rubik's, okay, new revenue, and quarterly report. All 4 of those got 3 points. And then you drop down below that. Website got 2 points and water treatment plant got 2 points. I'm surprised the website, but that's, on the other hand, we got something going there anyway.
Yeah, we've got something.
It's not going to be we're not going to be rating him on that.
Right.
These are what we're rating him on.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not going to do the others.
That's one of my top priorities, but it didn't make my list because I didn't think it would be, even be completed in 6 months, let alone a year, or a year, let alone 6 months.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it would depend how we designed it.
Yeah.
What do we want to do on the website?
We're gonna clean up our website first and try to
Okay.
take some of it off.
Also currently in
you?
process.
Excuse me?
It's also currently in process and they've got a subcommittee, like they're working on it.
Right.
We have a consultant that we
Yeah.
use.
So, I mean, the website, even though it got one of the lowest scores, it's still going to be going on. Again, we're just not going to manage him on.
I think it's something we should evaluate him on at 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So comprehensive plan. I think we can do, the miniature golf thing has been going on for a long time.
Yep.
The new revenue is brand new and the communications, what you call it Rubik's, is brand new. Quarterly reporting is new. I mean, we don't, well, my opinion.
I kind of consider communications and quarterly reporting the same.
It wasn't the quarterly reporting, it's financial
Yeah.
revenue, expense, and capital.
Right. And then communicating with you guys on what projects are going on and what's happening. I think I can kind of combine those two together.
I
I-
said communications, Rubik, I'm talking about internal and external.
Yeah.
Right.
And parameters of, if someone calls in, or is the citywide, every employee who gets a call, are they returning the call within 24 hours? Yes or no? If not, why not? And if they can't, who are they delegating it to?
How would you track it?
You'd create I don't know, you'd have to create a rubric on it, which is
It's probably a lot of calls that
matrix.
come right into Susan's office.
So is that something that we could do in 6 months?
I think so. I think Public
That would
Works
be
has it
tough to
now.
track. That's what it is.
Well,
The Public Works Department, when they get all these phone calls in at the end of the day, someone's calling them back. So I think you can use that as a template system wide.
I would hate to create a new system. One of the things that we ought to be doing with the new software we've got is anytime that a taxpayer calls in and has a request, or calls into one of us and has a request and they're not capable of putting it on that system, that we can get it on there and the council can individually, we can look at anyone we want to look at. The customer can also go in and see where his in particular status is, correct?
Right.
And it doesn't make a difference what the item is, whether it's trees or sidewalks or speeding, or it doesn't really make a difference what it is. We can track that with the system we've got.
Right.
That's the biggest, you're nodding yes,
Yeah.
that is possible. We haven't trained the public to do it. We haven't trained the council to do it. I personally have went on and entered some things because I wanted to know how to do it. There are training classes available from the vendor. You can log in, you can do you can go through a training class to do that. And then you can tell the taxpayer how to log in themselves. They can only access that one. They've got, because they can't get to everything. Is
So
that correct?
A button on it on the website.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're looking at now.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question. If you give a taxpayer access to that data, their data, can they get everybody else's if they want to? Or are they restricted? This theirs,
Yeah.
okay, which is what we want. We could, as a group, this council can get access to everything.
We could do that.
Yeah, because you have the ability to do that. So anything that is in the system, if we want to look that up, we can do that. Okay, that
So
seems
does
like to be,
Check that box.
Yeah.
And say,
It
does
does,
that make that null then?
No,
No.
because what we don't have in is a flow chart on
Time.
getting that entered.
Oh,
And, you know, John Arena is a perfect example.
Yeah.
He called in and called in and called in. And he talked to me and I didn't enter it. So there's got to be some processes in place that
right,
actually
yeah,
get that.
yeah, no, I agree.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. We don't have the training and everything done yet, but we have a system that can do this. If that's a big part of the communications rubric that you're talking about, you know, today, unfortunately, you get a call from a taxpayer, you call Kyle talks to somebody, it's not logged, we don't know if it's updated. You know, that's a big point of that whole system, is to do this for us.
I guess that's my question. If we put a button on the website that takes them directly there,
Yeah, right.
does that solve the issue?
not necessarily,
We could direct
because
them.
there's so many people that still want to use the phone calls and.
Right. I
and
mean,
stuff
you're
like
gonna have,
that, So,
so you're gonna have older individuals that are gonna want to do
Right.
because that's what they're comfortable
Right,
with.
right.
It just is what it is.
But it's just as easy as calling Kyle, because now you've logged it.
Yeah.
You get the call, you know how to log it. Kyle can get access to it. He can see when it came in. It's assigned to somebody and it should be updated. And people, we ought to know where that's at.
What happens when somebody calls all of you
yeah.
with
Yeah,
the
like-
same complaint? What
I
happens?
feel like okay, thank you. Like, this is where I'm gonna direct you to call, because whenever we change the form of government, we're changing some of that. Yes, we are still like liable to the constituents, but we've become more of a legislative body. We're not your, I'm gonna solve your world's problems.
Right.
Right.
Those are to come into here.
Well,
Like, you should like direct them to be like, okay, well, call this number, you know, leave your name and number. If there's no, they'll give you a call back. I mean, just like any business,
Right.
in my opinion.
So what would happen if, I think you and I have talked about this, I get a call and I shoot you an email. Are you good with that? And then we have a tracking
Oh,
system?
yeah, man.
I mean,
someone's got
then,
to.
then I'm done with it. Kyle has it, Kyle can review it.
But there's no internal process on who called you
Right.
and the follow-up with that.
Right.
How do you know Kyle's following up or when Kyle follows
Well,
up?
and that's going,
Who's delegating?
that's going to be part of this process going forward.
Okay, but that's exactly, I think, what we have experience. You got to know the basic data that you got to get. You got to know who the person is, what their address is, what their phone number is, how they can get recontacted, and you got to know what the issue is. You can give that to Kyle, or you can do it yourself if you want to. I can do it because I have done it. Now, I didn't know exactly what to do until I entered it the first time, but I've got those basic facts. Who called, what their address is, what their contact points, what's the issue?
Mhm.
So maybe that's one of our things that we put within the 6 months, that we have a process developed and in place for.
Right.
I think we have to implement it and train on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're really primarily talking about. If, by the way, the website, again, of course, we've already got a committee working on that. It's not his objective, but he's going to have to do it. We're just not going to rate him on it.
Right.
But we
yeah.
want to get that done.
Yeah.
So on this Rubik's Cube, we've got the document. It's training and getting people up to speed on it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so
And by people, you mean us.
Well, it's us and the department heads. I don't know if the department heads all know how this works. I don't think they do.
It's only going right now.
It's just in Public Works.
I get a notification immediately,
Right.
and then I'll assign it to somebody.
Hmm.
When they update, they go in there and they update it, then, and you really need an email. If the person has an email, and they'll send them an email
Email, okay, okay.
that the status.
That's something we need to get.
That takes, yeah.
And if they don't get a status updated, 48 hours, we have a
Emails.
process that will follow.
Well,
They want a phone call. I don't know.
I'm afraid the ship's
I
back.
agree.
Say no.
That does not help our old
Some
people.
things take.
What does it?
it?
Email?
Well, like us entering it and then they get an email, it doesn't help them where the follow-up is. So we're really talking about people who are younger baby boomers and down.
Okay, so what we got to do is solve that problem. That's part of the
There's
deal.
only one here, but
So I agree with you,
Yeah.
but we got to solve that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they don't want to give us an email or they don't get emails, they got to at least give us a phone number.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we can, and we have actually knocked on people's doors. We get a complaint on that fire hydrant that I got, said it wasn't working. Someone called and said it wasn't working. I didn't know if the water department or fire department was in charge. Fire department went out. Yes, it was failed. I think you knocked on their door and said it's fixed. They knew about it. How did they know about it? I gave you the person's name and number, but I didn't go knock on their door.
I think Dennis might have, or
Yeah.
one of the,
And by the way, it wasn't right in front of their house. It was like 3 or 4 doors down. But somehow that person knew that fire hydrant did not work. So yes, we got to solve that problem.
yeah.
And I still think that's the best way. We have no tracking today. It just doesn't work.
Okay, but can we get tracking in 6 months?
We have to solve.
Is this something that Kyle could be responsible for that we can do as a performance evaluation in 6 months? Because that's really what we're talking about.
No, he has to answer that.
If you want tracking on something like that, we're gonna have to buy some kind of software out there to do.
We got this.
But that doesn't take care of the phone calls and stuff.
Well,
like so-
okay, it doesn't take care of the phone calls.
I guess what I'm talking about on the communication, when I brought that up, I'm talking about a process and a policy on how we do these things. I'm not saying implement it immediately or 6 months. I'm saying get prepared to implement it.
Right.
But we need a policy or a process in place that will handle the calls.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, if a call comes in, we direct the person to put it online.
Well, and maybe also we can do like the 80-20 rule. After we start implementation, we can always revisit it if we find that more than 80% end up having to be a phone call.
Yeah.
If it's 80%, we can take care of all through the online system and they get an email and all that, then yay, great. You're talking about 20% or less of people that we're going to follow up via phone.
And the other thing is,
May not be an issue at all.
you know, if it's something that you want me to track every phone call that I get and respond to, I mean, I'm gonna spend the whole day doing emails and
Yeah,
phone
that-
calls. I'm not gonna get anything else done.
Why don't we?
And that's,
You don't get them done today.
And that-
Right. I mean, it's,
You don't.
I know.
And
I
that's why I
can't.
said, maybe it's a policy. Hey,
Yeah.
all calls are returned in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the policy's in place. We're going to get feedback if that's not done. That's just an example.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to get feedback and then we'll address it at that point.
Where
Yeah,
did
that's fine.
communication on the list?
Where's what?
List.
It
Communication.
was one of the 4.
The,
Tied for,
yeah, it was one of the 4 tied. Miniature golf was another one, and then the new revenue was another one that got a tie, and then quarterly reporting. Those
So
are all tied.
what can Kyle impact and be evaluated on in 6 months of those would be my question.
Of all of these, he has to.
Well, just
Well,
the
no.
ones that we have, those are top ones.
Right, no, I understand that.
so we're, comprehensive plans, number 1.
Right.
What's number 2?
Well, the 4 that are tied is miniature golf, the Rubik's, communications Rubik's, new revenue, and quarterly report.
So on the comprehensive plan, like maybe within 6 months, we could come up with a mission and vision statement and have a plan in place for how we're going to move forward
the following.
And
6
who's going to
months.
do it? Yeah, I tend to agree that we're not going to get a new published comprehensive
No.
plan in a year.
No.
But in 6 months or by the end of the year, we ought to know the process to get it completed, who's going to do it, what it's going to cost, what kind of data do we need to start gathering. We can even have some of the public meetings in that time, but we're not going to create the document in a year. I mean, 6 months. Yes.
So I know we're talking 6-month timeframe. Can we meet in August at a 3-month and just see where we're at on these goals? Because we've had dialogue for almost an hour.
Right.
But just after a council or part of a council meeting and see where we're at in 3 months, and then we'll go back 3 months after that.
Yes, I think definitely we can do that. I tell you what, when we get done with this meeting this morning, we're going to write these up, defined well, not just a word. And we'll all of us will get a chance to look at it and say, yes, that's what we agreed to do. I will do that. And I'll give it to everybody, and you'll get a chance to say, no, I want to tweak it this way.
Yeah.
The miniature golf thing has become a legal issue.
Right, but we just have to make a decision. I think we have to make a decision which way we're going and let's go with whichever way it is we're going.
Key there is decision.
Yeah, make a decision and let's
Be
move.
done with
Of
it.
any of these,
Go
that's
with
the one that can be made.
Yeah,
So that's easy. Yeah.
New revenue. There's a lot of things on revenue. Anybody, if you got any ideas about how revenue can be created, I think you share that with Kyle. But to actually start something that generates revenue is something that it's going to take a little bit of research.
well, and that's what this is all about. It's research and identify 2 new revenue streams.
Yep.
So
It's not implement, bring to town. It's research and identify 2 new revenue streams. How would they benefit us? What would be the barriers?
Okay. Now, what about is a revenue stream of $5 a year?
No,
Okay, so what is it?
Material.
I mean, we would,
What's material? 100,000, 50,000?
Well, the auditors will let us know that.
Yeah, they don't. You'll never get an auditor to tell you what material is.
I mean, we would just have to set something, I mean, like, what do we feel like would be beneficial? Bringing in $150,000 a year would be, identifying a revenue stream.
That's a grant, 1 grant.
I mean, something like that. I think it's just identification. How would it benefit us? What would be the barrier?
You're talking a one-time income, or are you talking an ongoing stream?
I would say an ongoing stream.
So a grant would not
Correct.
qualify.
Well, yeah, unless you get grants.
Not,
Set up something.
it may not be something.
There are grants that do sometimes fund 3, 4, 5
It
years.
may not be something that's implemented again, but like if you are, I think that's kind of the job of the manager is how are we going to move the city forward? How are we going to get more money? Nothing runs without money. I mean, so identification and some background research.
we have.
I think we got something. We could better define that, put it in writing. The miniature golf is easy. The communications is a little bit more difficult, but we can, it's going to be more of a policy, a process, define, more precisely what you're going to do, but not really. The comprehensive plan is more, what's the cost? Who's going to do it? What are we going to get in 6 months? That kind of thing. Quarterly.
By action steps.
Action step.
Right. Quarterly report is revenue, expense, capital dollars, tracking.
Is that something that's easy to?
Yeah, okay. Is that okay? Can I rewrite this now
For what?
on those 4?
Quarterly reports, depending what information
I'm
you
good with
put
it.
in there. Some of it's
Yeah.
really easy, some of it's
Okay, that's fine. I'll do
depending
that.
on some of the projects and
I'll
stuff.
get it back
Like,
to you soon,
what we put in the
in
meat,
a few days.
we could buy all the equipment in the first quarter if we wanted
Let's see,
to.
today's
We just
Wednesday,
try not to do
Monday.
that, so we don't.
Yeah.
You'll have a
the-
copy on Monday.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, so timing is always going to be a weird thing.
A system thing where she could print out quarterly reports.
Oh, yeah, she can put out quarterly reports that tells you what the percentage is of
Budget.
the budget spent. But again, so many things are time sensitive.
She doesn't flex the budget. She knows that X amount's coming in this quarter, so she puts all the budget number in that quarter.
No,
She
we
tried
don't.
to do that.
I think the revenue she does, but the expenditure she doesn't, because she doesn't know when Public Works wants to buy. They got a skid steer, a dump truck, and something else. Well, they could buy it all in the first quarter, or they could buy one each
I'm
quarter.
thinking the revenue, she does that.
Yeah, the revenue's pretty.
Where
Okay.
we at, Kyle, on the grocery tax then?
I'm planning on having it at the next meeting if you guys.
Yeah, don't count on having this one, right?
Why not?
I'd say that would be one, implementing
We'll
governor.
get it done. Okay, just for everybody's information, Kyle's list,
Yes.
his number one, was the performance evaluation for everybody. His number two was starting the comprehensive plan. His number three was communications on projects, budgets, quarterly, all that stuff. It's because his is more than just quarterly revenue, expense, and capital. It's actually, well, you
I
have,
put that communicating it with all.
The projects.
The projects and.
Can we add to our list then his number one, which is performance evaluations, as a starred asterisk that we just want to kind of get up to speed?
Yeah.
When we touch base with
You
you
know,
in 6 months,
personally,
just tell us how you
Yeah.
get along.
it's kind of like everything else. You say, I'll do this, and you get these three, and you can't get to that one. It's another thing. It's another item. And it doesn't go away. Put it on our list for next year. We've not done any performance reviews, anybody, for the whole time I've ever been on the council. And I've been on the council for now 18 years, and we've never done a performance review, ever.
Yeah.
But you've been wanting some forever, right?
That's a
That's
fact.
been one of my goals the whole time. is-
But now it's going to be, so we're going to start with one, and we're going to go to the department heads next. Let's do that starting out the next budget year.
Yeah.
Let's start then.
Well,
That's
I
my,
like that it's on your top of your priority list.
Yeah.
yeah, well, he may,
Please start.
if he can implement,
Yeah.
yeah.
We won't
It's
grade it.
it's up to him.
Yeah.
We're just not going to evaluate him on that item.
Well, I need it. I mean, I need it for other
Okay.
purposes too.
Any other questions? Are you okay with this? Everybody okay?
Like the process.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get this out to everybody. And you're going to get a chance to comment back and make adjustments. Okay?
Very good.
Kyle, you
All right.
okay with this?
Yes.
All good?
Good with delegating?
Can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Second? Hey, meeting adjourned. Oh, we got to. Meeting's going to be adjourned here.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Mayor Hall?
No,
No. Okay.
that's my first no ever. I
Nice.
did that for you.
The project.
Right.
All right,
You want?
done.
I'll print one.
What was that timing?